So we're in that nice place between Christmas and New Year where, the pressure's not really on because the new year's not started yet. So those of us who are very goal orientated, once come the 1st of January, we want to get motoring. So we're in that nice period where we can sort of contemplate what we've done this year and what we'd love to do next year. And I know many of you are old hands at setting New Year's resolutions, as am I. I've got mine since 1987. Ranging from sort of scrappy bits of notepaper at the beginning, torn out of a book, all the way through to, immaculate and beautifully monogrammed, different coloured notebooks, which is where I am now. And but one of the things that I have noticed, both with mine and with other people's as well, is that these resolutions and goals can be extremely activity based. They can be, we can spend a lot of time quantifying them, getting very specific, using SMART goals and all of that. So, we go into the nth degree of what it is that we're trying to do. And as I say, they're very activity based. And then, we wonder why sometimes we don't achieve them, because why wouldn't we? We followed all the guidelines, we followed all the strategies, and we've got this perfect set of goals, and we've got metrics around them, and we can even have habits and standards and systems around them as well. And still, for some reason, we don't get there with them. We don't achieve what we want to achieve. And so really what I wanted to do in this session was to address that, and to reflect on that a little bit, and maybe set us up better for the forthcoming year because of this reflection. Like I say, very often our goals can be activity based. They're very basic. It will be something like, I'm going to work out 5 times a week, or I'm going to stop smoking, stop drinking, eat more protein, whatever it is. Get up earlier, get up at 4 a.m. every morning. But the missing ingredient, one of the missing ingredients, is very much, the reason why we want to achieve this. So, what is it that we're associating with that activity? Because if we're not clear on that, the odds are that as soon as an obstacle comes in the way, that we won't follow through. And when I say, the reason why, what I'm actually talking about there is not necessarily a thing to get. I'm thinking much more about how we believe it's going to make us feel. Because at the end of, when we look back at a period of time, we will very often be more aware of how we're feeling than anything else. And obviously the way that we feel puts a real different spin on how we look at stuff. Nothing is really reality. Everything is perception. And we've heard that saying before. And perception comes from feelings and how we feel. So I want to spend quite a bit of time in this session thinking about feelings, and maybe starting to consider goals around our actual feelings. And part of the feelings is who we're trying to become as well. The person we're becoming, the identity that we're creating. And I've spoken at length about this before. And, with the spiritual work that I've done this year, with the greater awareness of, energy and the different levels of energy and vibration, and how important it is for us to maintain and protect our energy. I've got a very different stance on goal setting this year to maybe what I've had before. And it does boil down to who we want to become and how we want to feel. And how we want to feel is primarily about the sort of energy that we want to hold on to and build within our body. Because what we actually see here, as I say, perception is most of our reality. What we see here is a tiny part of the true reality. We're only actually seeing a small part of who we are. We are this matter that we see, this physical object that we see here, is less than 1% of who we really are. Most of who we are is made of energy, and you can't see that, but you can feel it. And that's why feelings are so important. So if we start to think about the previous year, mostly we will look at how we feel and how we felt about things. And that's really where I wanted to start off with when we reflect on the past year. because, you know, we don't want to dive into next year and think that we're going to do this again, and literally just repeat what we did last year, because we've heard that the definition of insanity is to repeat something and expect a different outcome. So before we actually start to think of next year, let's have a look back and reflect. Before we think of next year, let's have a look back and reflect on last year. And in particular, let's look at feelings from last year, and let's identify, first of all, how last year went in terms of how we feel about it. And you have a workbook there to enable you to start to write some notes in a moment. But the question here is there anything, or several things, in fact, from last year that you're holding on to, that are unresolved, that are unfinished, that are incomplete? You know, there may be things relating to any part of our life that really, you know, we feel that we didn't do our best job at, or we've only just started, or, you know, given the opportunity, we would like to address differently, or address again with more resolve. So that's the first thing that I wanted us to have a look at, is just identifying what didn't quite go as we wanted, what is unresolved in our eyes. And I've written some categories down here, because you may think, you know, in some categories, everything went exactly as you planned, in fact, better than you planned, you know, you were beautifully surprised. But there will be some areas that didn't quite go as you wanted. So, you know, I always look at a pyramid of categories in life. Other people will look at the wheel of life. But I always break it down into a series of things. The first one being body, the second being our emotions and our mindset, the next being relationships, the next being career, the next being money, our home and our home life, our learning, our spirituality, and then two which are sort of sometimes a bit more difficult to quantify, which is our general feeling of progress, and then our general feeling of happiness. So if you look at those different categories, just take a moment to consider if there's any there that you're holding on to as things that are unresolved, things that, you know, there's an issue, or there's something you've started that's not quite finished, or didn't go to plan, or there's new issues that's come up. And I'll repeat those categories again. So could be body, you might have started but not finished. Emotions, mindset, relationships, career, money, your home, learning, your spirituality, your general feeling of progress, and your general feeling of happiness. There will probably be other categories, but these 10 categories I find are a good catch-all. So what we're looking for just in this section is the things that have not yet been resolved, things that are sort of open. And, you know, you may feel that you've made good progress in the previous year, but not quite finished, or you may feel a bit frustrated, a bit annoyed with yourself that, you know, there's something there that you wanted to address, but you haven't. So just give you a moment to make a note of those. We're looking for, before we close it last year, we're looking for areas that need resolution. Body, emotions, mindset, relationships, career, money, home, learning, spirituality, progress, or happiness. All right. So that's the first area. And these can very often be feelings, not necessarily tangible things, but you just might have that feeling that, yeah, you know, you did do some workouts, you did modify your diet slightly. For some reason, you've not quite got to where you want to get to. So just want to acknowledge these things, first of all. Your career may have been spectacular. You know, it may have actually exceeded all of the previous years. But for some reason, you might feel that there's something unresolved there still. You know, you may have moved home and be absolutely delighted with the new home, but could just be that, you know, you have a renovation that's planned. So anything like that, we want to pick up. So these needn't all be bad. They could just be things you've started. Okay, so that's the first section. Now, bear with me, because this second section is important, and it does need you just to really close your eyes and dwell on it for a minute. This doesn't necessarily require any writing, but it just requires some closing of the eyes and some thinking. So close your eyes with me and take a moment to consider those things that you've documented. And let's just get to a point where we can release the previous year. And certainly we're going to come on to more of this with Michelle, but specifically with these things that you've written down as being unresolved. What do you think this about them? Firstly, I did a good job. I did a good job. I did my best. I did what I could. I did what I was meant to. I did my part. And it's now safe to let this go and let the new year, the new season, the new phase, the new level begin to come through. It's a new year. I'm massively powerful. I can create anything that I want to. And I'm ready for this new year and this new version of me. And I'm now going to draw a line under this year's shortcomings, anything that I've seen that I want to address with renewed vigor, I'm going to next year. But I've done my best for this past year. I'm not going to go back. I cannot go back. There's no point in going back. I'm going to draw a line under what happened last year. And that's the mindset that we want to go into the new year with. You know, we did our best with the information that we had at the time. We did our best with the challenges that we had at the time. You know, we had probably lots and lots of things pulling at our attention. And hindsight, you know, is the best tool. It's great to have hindsight. But when you're in the moment, you can only do what you can do. So when faced with challenges that you don't expect, you can only do what you can do. The beautiful thing is with the, you know, the journey that we're on, the journey of self-development, that we're always improving every single day. You know, every single day where we have some good nutrition. You know, it might not be perfect, but we've had some good nutrition. We've, you know, used our creams and our lotions and our face pack, maybe not every day, but some days. You know, we've done a workout, maybe not every day, but some days. We've hydrated. We've had some good sleep. You know, we've been on a coaching call. We've run our business. We've seen our friends. We've meditated. You know, every single day that we've done some of this, we've added to our life. We've become stronger. We've become more knowledgeable. And now let's look at the things that maybe we didn't want to do, that weren't quite so voluntary. The challenges that we faced. We may have lost loved ones. You know, things may have gone wrong in business. We may have had clients complain. We may have had you know, issues in relationships and conflict in friendships. All of these things happen when we just don't expect it. Financial issues, financial surprises, unexpected costs, you know, raising their head. So all of these things we addressed with the best knowledge that we had at that time. You know, we did our best. We used our knowledge up to that point, and we learned from those experiences. So the good news is, in this whole process of drawing a line, that, you know, no experience is a bad experience, even when it really feels like it, even when we would just have done anything not to have encountered that experience. The fact is that we are so much more capable a year on than we were this time last year. It may well feel sometimes that we've gone backwards, but even if we've gone backwards in an area, we've learned from that. We've learned what not to do. We've learned what didn't work. We've learned, you know, there are different ways of addressing things. So draw a line under it, not with a feeling of resignation of, oh, well, you know, I failed in a particular area, but moving on. It's not like that. It's more drawing a line knowing that we did our best and we've learned from every single day that that has gone by in the last year. All right, so with that under our belt, with that sort of new mindset, and with, you know, a feeling of congratulating ourselves that we have stepped forward in every single way, without expecting that everything had to go right. Let's now have a look at some of the things that definitely did go well. Let's notice all the things that we did well, all the things that we went right, and all the things that we are in fact proud of. And this is a bit like the gratitude diary, where, you know, when you really start to put your mind to it, you can write pages and pages and pages of things that you're grateful for. You can do the same when you start to think about things that went right. It may feel sometimes that the year was nothing but challenges, but when you really start to dig, and you really have to, you can start to come up with lots and lots of things that went right. So that's what I'd like us to do in this next section, is to make a long list of everything that we did right, at least 10 things. And I've got some prompts here for how did you grow? What did you learn? What are the things that you're most proud of yourself for? But think of the times where you surprised yourself, or where you overcame a challenge, where you really excelled in something that you didn't expect. And, you know, I'm looking at all the names on this call this evening, and I could rattle off some for you already, knowing you as I do. So set about writing your 10 things now. And if you want to, if you're struggling to write anything, you can pop something in the chat, because I can by all means help you. But, you know, off the top of my head, there are people on this call who secured new positions they never thought they would. There are people on this call who've trebled the turnover of their business they never thought they would. There are people on this call who've struggled with pain, physical pain, who are now working out routinely and lifting weights. You know, there are people on this call who didn't have relationships and now have. People on the call who have lost significant amounts of weight. You know, people on the call who have made businesses out of what had been their hobbies up until now. So when you really start to dig, there are many, many things that we can be proud of. So I'll give you a moment just to write 10 things down. And if you're really struggling, let's go back to those categories and just write one thing in each of the categories. You know, we've got 10 categories here: body, emotions, relationships, career, money, home, spirituality, learning, progress, and happiness. Even if you were to write one thing in each of those. I want you just to blitz, to brainstorm, to brain dump. No one's going to check this list, but this is going to be great material for you when we come to starting to put our goals together. So how did you grow? What did you learn? And what are you most proud of? I'll just give you one more minute to finish this. All right, so hopefully you're coming up to your 10 points. At a minimum, one for each of those categories. And now we've got that. So we've put, you know, the last year to bed in a positive way. And we've identified from it some really great things, some things where we excelled. Some things where we're proud of, you know, even if we're just proud of ourselves for dealing with a challenge that we never thought we would have to. And now we'll get on to the next section, which is our areas for growth. This is where we are now starting to look at next year, but we're looking at it, we're still not going into those activity-based goals at this point, because what I first of all want you to look at is are areas where you deserve and desire better. And in particular, I want you to look at things that are bringing you down, you know, areas where you feel a sense of frustration or annoyance or discontentment, or the belief that there is something wrong with you and you're never going to get it right, or the belief there's something wrong with someone else in your life. But basically they are things that are annoying you and dragging you down. Before we jump onto the next section, I want to give you some sort of little examples of this. I mean, it could be something really simple, like the layout of your home. You know how, you know, you have things laid out at home, and I don't know, you know, I had a picture on the floor that I was waiting for someone to come and put up. And these two pictures here, one of them actually fell off the wall. And so they're both on the floor now, waiting for someone to come and put them up. And they were supposed to happen before Christmas. But that's a sort of a small example of things that can be frustrating. You know, looking at something that you're stepping over every day, or looking at something that, I know, you knock over, or there's a wire somewhere, or, you know, you're looking at something that's broken every day, little things like that. Or your drawers are untidy, you know, so things to do with the home, which are a little sense of frustration. I think I said to some of you in one of our calls when we were talking about a list of things to do, and I said to you about clutter, and I ended up having someone come to my home and, you know, completely organize all the drawers and all the cupboards and everything like that. And it's been wonderful. You know, it's a source of constant pleasure now to actually open the drawers, as opposed to a source of great frustration. So it can be little examples like that, which just nip away at us the whole time. Or it could be something big, you know, where it's going to need quite a bit of effort to resolve it. There could be someone in your life that every single time you encounter them or you spend time with them, they're draining you, you know. And I want you to think about that, because this is the year for you to do something about that. You know, we have one life. It's your life. No one is going to come along and rescue you. And no one is even going to be aware of these frustrations and of these drains. Only you are. So free yourself up, because I was talking about energy earlier, wasn't I? And these little things drain away at our energy. And so what we want to look for here are the energy stealers, the energy suckers, the time suckers, you know, the drainers, where we come away not feeling depleted. So try and identify any of those that are just annoying, frustrating, or causing you discontent. And they could be things, they could be places, it could even be somewhere that you go every day that you just don't want to keep going to. I don't know, you know, something as basic as, you know, getting your food shopping every day, or having to, you know, wanting your house to be clean. You know, just resolve to get some of these things sorted in this coming year. And then leading on from that, which, you know, tend to be little things, start thinking now about what you would like to do differently. What would you like to improve? And how would you like to feel and behave differently? And this is where we come back to feelings again, because, you know, we've done enough teaching at YBMB now on mindset to know that, you know, the aim is to feel good. The aim is to get up the emotional ladder, as Abraham Hicks refers to, and get to a place of joy, of happiness, and not to wait for things to take place and things to be in place in order to be able to feel that. You know, the goal is to feel happy, to find a place of joy, and we do that through meditation and gratitude daily, on a daily basis, to get to that place of joy and happiness and contentment. And then after that, to tackle everything else with a renewed vigor, not to wait to have these things achieved before we can feel happy. So when we're thinking about what we would like to do differently, what we would like to improve, and how would we like to feel and behave differently, think about how you can get yourself to a place of happiness and joy on a daily basis, on a more regular basis, before delving into your daily activities. Some of the things that I've taught over the year relate to habits and systems, and in particular the use of alarms, where I've shown you, having an annual alarm which reminds you of how you want to feel. So you can use these alarms for activity goals, remembering to eat, remembering to hydrate, remembering to get up at a certain time, etc., etc., etc. But to use them as well as feeling goals, to remember to feel gratitude, to remember to feel joyful, to remember to focus on happiness and the little things, before then carrying on with, addressing all the challenges of daily life. So be thinking here about how you might feel and behave differently. So as you're doing that, just dwell on what's been going on in this last year inside your mind, because obviously no one can see that, but you can feel it. And it is the most real place for you. We have this constant narrative going on. And how's your narrative been going? What little things have annoyed you? What little things don't feel good in your day-to-day life? What's the constant narrative that you could do without, that's draining you? What underlying feelings and thoughts are sucking at your energy that you are resolving to change this year? So this is what I'm trying to get at with this. It's not necessarily the big goals. It's not necessarily, we'll come on to it, of course, the quantifiable goals in terms of finances and new houses and cars and businesses and bodies and all of that. But I'm trying to get at a deeper level here. I'm trying to get you to reflect more on the things that we don't realize hold us back. Our mindset holds us back. Our energy drains hold us back. And a bit like how I was teaching you, a very first launched Your Body Means Business, where I was teaching that, for many years I'd worked on strategy, and then I found physical fitness, and the impact of physical fitness on business was astounding to me. The fact that all of a sudden I realized that, if you have this physical body in tip-top condition, then everything else in business becomes easier. But in the last couple of years, and particularly this year, what I've discovered is there's another layer to that, and it's what I'm talking about now. It's the mindset. You can have a super fit body, you can know all the business strategies, but if you're having this negative self-talk, if you're allowing these energy drains, if you're allowing these little frustrations to monopolize your thoughts and feelings all day, then you're being held back from really achieving everything that you're capable of. And that's why I really want to try to get to the crux of these. What's this self-talk? What's these underlying feelings and thoughts? What's sucking your energy? Who and what is sucking your energy? And how can you do something about those this forthcoming year? And so hopefully now you've documented something about that, and now we've got a greater awareness of things holding us back that maybe we weren't so sure about before. We'll come on to this next section, which is the future us. And this is normally where we start, the future us. But again, I want to look at this in a very slightly different way before going on to the quantification of the goals. That I always talk about identity, that I talk about versions, and that when you're coming into a new year, you're talking about the new version of you. I've phrased it in different ways. I've related it to age. I've talked about, me at 60 being the version 6.0, 61 would be the version 6.1. So for you guys, it'd be version 50 or 5.3 or however it is. So, I've talked about versions before, but I want you to look at this future you, this new version of you, and think a bit more about what he or she would be saying at the moment. What would the new version of you, who already has the things that you would like to have, whether that's, you know, more love, more money, improved body, different home, travel, etc., what would that new version say to you about what you're meant to have? Let that new you argue your case for a bit in the notes. For example, you know, he or she could be saying, you're meant to have this great business. You know, you have the skills, you've worked sufficiently hard, you've got the team around you, you've got the knowledge, you've got the skills, you've got the intention, you know, you have the network. You are meant to have this thing in your career. You are meant to have this, you know, additional earnings, or, you know, you have the skill set in nutrition. You work out hard. You know, you follow all the guidance. You are meant to have this strong physique. So let that future you argue the case for you for a bit. What would they say to you about what you're meant to have in this area? I'll let you write a sentence or two about that for a moment and just dwell on that, because it's a different concept. The future you, what would they say to you? How would they argue the case that, of course, you're meant to have this? And then the next part of that, the version of you who already has this, what would they want to make sure you know about who you are meant to be? You imagine this future you is there down the line with whatever it is you're looking to achieve, the body, the mindset, the career, the money, the home, the relationship, whatever it is. What would they want you to know? They probably want you to know how to get there. This is a bit like the future life progression work that we've done before, where you're asking your future self to tell you what it is you need to know and let them draw you towards them. It's a different concept. What are they telling you? So to expand on it a little bit, and I hope you're just writing some sentences here because this is laying some groundwork for you, but to expand on this a bit, what does he or she know for sure? Interpret that as you will. What does he or she know for sure? When she or he is calling you to them, what is it that they know? Let's really get into the mindset of this future you that you're creating. The future you who's down the line, maybe at the end of 2023, and talking to you, calling you towards them. What is it that they know? What is it they believe? And how is that different to the current you? What do they believe? What have they seen demonstrated? And then moving on, what do they think? What's their current thought process? And how is that different to your current thought process? Do they think it's easy? Do they think that you're being bogged down by things that you shouldn't be? Do they wish that you would just change something? Do they wish that you wouldn't put up with something? Do they wish that you would just change a particular habit? Do they wish you would have better self-belief? Do they wish that you would change that job, start that business, dump that relationship, jump into a new relationship? What do they wish? What are they urging you to do? What do they think? And how do they feel having reached that level? How do they feel? You know, what are they saying to you? What's it like to be at that level? How do they feel now they've achieved it? So I really want you to try and get into the whole mindset of the future you. You know, bring this version of you to life. Imagine what they're saying and urging you to do. Think about the guidance that they're giving you. Think about the things that they know that you can change in an instant. And if you only did that, the impact that that could make. All right, so hopefully that's put you in the shoes of your future self. And I just want you now to have a read through what you've written. I know it's probably hasty and there's a few sentences and things that you would want to expand on, but just have a look through and underline anything that really stands out to you. Because sometimes this will tell us what we sort of know, but we don't want to acknowledge. So underline what stands out most. And if you can, and you feel that you want to, then you can make a mission statement around this, of who you're becoming using what you've underlined. And there could be one glaring thing that's popped out, or it could be a whole load of things that you're familiar with, but for some reason haven't been addressed quite yet. And this should set the scene really nicely for the next phase, which is to clarify, to quantify, and then to schedule our goals. All right, so if there's any questions, do you want to pop those in the chat and I'll address those? And then we will move on to the next section. So let's have a look at the chat. Any other questions?